the lack of development across the Downs. Takes about 50 minutes, and you will see Eastbourne's famous attractions, including the Pier, the Carpet Gardens, the glorious seafront, the bandstand, the Lifeboat Museum, Beachy Head, Baltut Lighthouse, the Seven Sisters, Birling Gap, the South Downs National Park, and East Dean, before returning to Eastbourne. Your ticket gives you the freedom to hop on and hop off the tour bus as many times as you like for the next 24 hours, giving you the perfect opportunity to explore Eastbourne and the surrounding area at your leisure. So now sit back and enjoy the tour, but please remember to remain seated whilst the bus is moving. If you wish to alight, please ring the bell once. Bell pushers are situated at the top of the stairs or throughout the lower saloon. On your left, past the old red phone box, is the Pier. Eastbourne Pier Company was registered in 1865 and was opened in 1870 by Lord Cavendish, although work was not completed until 2 years later. On New Year's Day 1877, the landward half was swept away in a storm and rebuilt at a higher level, creating a drop towards the end of the pier. Eastbourne's pier is about 300 metres long, and the original plans were very simple. A long promenade which took people out to the sea without getting their feet wet. In 1888, a 400-seat domed pavilion was constructed at a cost of £250, which was later sold on to a farmer to use as a cattle shed. A new 1,000-seat theatre, bar and camera obscura was built in 1901. During the Second World War, part of the decking was removed and machine guns were installed. A Bofors anti-aircraft gun was sighted midway along the pier, measured to repel any attempted enemy landings. Throughout the late 19th and 20th centuries, pleasure steamers ran trips along the coast and across the Channel to Boulogne. 1957 was the final season. Strong swimmers were permitted to dive from the pier end between 6 and 9 in the morning. On the 30th of July 2014, East Sussex Fire and Rescue Service deployed 80 officers to tackle a devastating fire which destroyed the domed blue room at the landward end of the pier. The fire rapidly took hold and sadly completely destroyed the building. But thanks to the quick response of the Fire Brigade and the Royal National Lifeboat Institute, who rainbowed seawater on the remaining two-thirds of the pier, the majority of the structure was saved, thanks to the bravery and skill of those men and women. Just ahead to your right is a statue of a young officer, in memoriam to the Sussex men who served in their local unit, the 2nd Battalion of the Royal Sussex Regiment, at the time of the Indian Mutiny in 1857, and who gave their lives for their country. On your left are the famous Carpet Gardens, bright flower beds planted in geometric patterns called carpet bedding, traditional to the town since 1880. These beds are propagated in the council's own nurseries. Opposite the Carpet Gardens is the sad site of the former Claremont Hotel, destroyed by fire on November the 22nd, 2019. This beautiful Grade 2 listed building was very like the next door Burlington Hotel, and it is hoped that the new building can soon rise up to take its place in a similar style. This is the stop for the bandstand. Over to your left, the lone round building on the top of the hill is the Bush Tower, number 73 of the 74 Martello Towers, which were built along the south coast from Folkestone to nearby Seaford to protect the coastline from invasion by Napoleon. Below the Wish Tower, closer to the road below, is the first permanent lifeboat museum in the world. The first lifeboat to serve Eastbourne was a privately owned vessel built in 1822, 2 years before the Royal National Lifeboat Institute itself was founded, and given to the town by the well-known local John Fuller, also known as Mad Jack. The boat, called the Rose, served until 1863. This is the stop for the Lifeboat Museum and Wish Tower. Coming up to your left, erected in 1910, is the statue of the 8th Duke of Devonshire, Spencer Compton, who was the mayor of Eastbourne. On 13th of May 1874, it was announced that local resident William Earp was proposing to build a magnificent hotel with a 400-foot frontage at a cost of £50,000. The result was the Grand Hotel, which is the large white building set back on your right. The only 5-star seafront hotel in the country. Meaning beautiful headland. These are the highest chalk cliffs in Britain, and they form the most easterly part of the South Downs. Below on your left are the Holywell Gardens, a wonderful sun trap with rockeries and a tea chalet. Before being landscaped by the town council in the winter of 1904, this was a huge chalk quarry, but it was discovered that the excavation was polluting a nearby water spring. Also perched on top of the cliff is Hallen Gardens, with an 18-hole putting course and lawn bowls overlooking the sea. This is the stop for Holywell Gardens. These are unusual secluded lawns with a seated wooded amphitheatre carved out in the cliff face. Next is Meads School, founded in 1895 by Mrs. Frances Brown. During the war, the school was evacuated and the building used to train over 2,000 pump breakers. This is the stop at the foot of Beachy Head, Foyles Way and the kiosk. You can walk to the top of Beachy Head from here, but be warned, it is very steep. To the top of Beachy Head, please stay on the bus. channels over the years to fill ponds, power water mills, and even to supply a brewery. Eastbourne prospered during the Middle Ages as a sheep farming area and thriving fishing centre. In 1555, the settlement was sold to three wealthy Sussex families: the Burtons, the Gildridges, and the Selwyns, whose legacy can be seen throughout the town today by way of street names and features. An essay by Dr. Richard Russell in 1752 extolled the medicinal benefits of the seaside. His views were of great advantage to the south coast, and Eastbourne became known as the Empress of watering places. By the mid-19th century, most of Eastbourne was owned by just two families. Most of the land owned by the Cavendish family was along the seafront, whereas the Gilbert family's land was generally slightly inland. We are now gradually climbing up the Chalk Downs, and it is this hill that the residents of Eastbourne can thank for keeping them sheltered from the worst high winds. The cliffs of Beachy Head face southwards, and therefore subject to severe southwesterly gales, and it's the constant erosion of cliff faces by these storms that maintains the magnificent whiteness of the cliff face. The coast is receding by up to 3 feet a year, and sometimes there's even a larger one. In 2002, a large piece of Beachy Head's cliffs fell into the sea, and the debris from this is still visible today. Beachy Head cliffs have been eroding for the last 10,000 years, ever since the end of the last ice age. The chalk at Beachy Head and the surrounding area is made up of billions of tiny animal shells called fragments, which can only be seen under a microscope. So small that you can fit around 1,000 of them on a pinhead. You can also see thin black bands of the chalk. These are formed by a chemical process which dissolves the silica fragments. When sea creatures such as sponges die, they leave behind tiny silica fragments which ingrain themselves into the chalk and form flint nodules. Flint is one of the most useful rocks man has ever found. It's an extremely hard mineral, and when struck, it breaks with a shell-shaped fracture, razor-sharp edges which can easily cut meat. If you would like the Black Robin farm stock, please ring the bell. For the top of Beachy Head, please stay on the bus. Leading to a cave 20 feet above the high water mark, from which he shone warning lights to help sailors. His grave may be seen in the Eastbourne Parish Church. It was the beacon at the top of Beachy Head that warned the population of the arrival of the Spanish Armada in 1588. Many locals say that you can see France from the top of Beachy Head, but this is a myth, due to it being 68 miles south from here across the English Channel. The body of water that separates southern England from France and usually credited as the busiest shipping area in the world. This is the stop for the Beachy Head pub and the countryside centre. If you are leaving us here, please check with the driver for the times of the last buses, as we don't want you stranded here. Please also be aware that we only run in one direction along the Downs, so you need to catch the bus on this side of the road for your return to Eastbourne. Look out to sea on a clear day and you will see the Rampion Wind Farm, located between 8 and 16 miles from the shore. It's situated along the coast between Worthing in the west, the city of Brighton and Hove, and Seaford in the east, and comprises of 116 turbines within an area of 24 square miles, and completed in 2018 at a cost of nearly £2 billion. Beachy Head's chaplaincy has been patrolling the cliffs since 2004, reaching out to those in distress and seeking to save lives. The lack of development across the Downs means plenty of unspoiled habitat for birds, mammals and reptiles. You can see cattle, sheep, rabbits, red foxes and badgers. The European badger is powerfully built, with black face, white markings and a grey body, weighing about 29 pounds in the spring and up to 37 pounds in the autumn. Beachy Head has many sporting events throughout the year, including cycling, walking and a 10k marathon, one of the biggest off-road in the UK. We are now making our way towards the Beltube Lighthouse, believed to be a French name, but more likely to be Celtic, taken from Beer, the god of war and toot, the lookout. Due to constant erosion, it was decided to move the lighthouse further inland, and in March 1999, the 160-year-old structure was moved 56 feet on specially built hydraulic rails. The lighthouse now sits on a single-storey building. The Beltube Lighthouse stone structure was started in 1831 using Aberdeen granite, hauled south by oxen teams and local limestone, and came into operation in 1834, later being decommissioned in 1902. Prior to the building of the stone structure, a wooden building was erected in 1828, where lighting experiments were carried out. These proved very successful, and the number of shipwrecks was greatly reduced. James Perce Stewart bought the lighthouse and constructed an access road upgrading it to a family home and tea rooms. It was almost completely destroyed during the Second World War, being badly damaged by Canadian artillery fire. Although the lighthouse was not the target, the guns were firing at wooden silhouettes of tanks which were placed on the hill to be approaching the building. In 1986, the BBC purchased the lease of the Beltube for the filming of a mini-series, The Life and Loves of a She-Devil. And a year later, it featured in the James Bond film The Living Daylights. From 1996, Beltube was again used as a family home, and then in 2010, it appeared on Channel 5's Life in the Country, showing how it was converted into a bed and breakfast, which purpose it still serves today. 150 yards to the east of the lighthouse, where the cliffs are only about 70 feet high, is a fairly level drive off the road, and the first record of a car being driven over the edge is on June the 10th, 1908. Visitors should keep a lookout for some of the area's flora and fauna. The classic chalk coastland has a remarkably rich and diverse habitat, with honeysuckle, yew sweet briar and hawthorn prevalent. This is the stop for the Beltube Lighthouse. Rough Brow, Brass Point, Black Hill, also known as Flagstaff Point, Bailey's Point, and Wayne Hill Brow. The present staircase was installed in 1996, replacing an earlier damaged structure. This was moved back to the cliff line in 2002, along with the access bridge, which was later lengthened. It was noted in 2005 that the Birling Gap cliffs had retreated 90 metres north from where they had stood in 1873. Another stark reminder of the relentless erosion taking place. The Seven Sisters Country Park can be found about 3 miles west of Birling Gap, at the point where the South Downs meets the sea where ancient rivers kept valleys into the chalk. Hayden Brad is the highest of all the Seven Sisters, standing at 253 feet, or 77 metres. On the way to the staircase, have a look at the cottages on the left. There used to be 8, but due to the erosion, 4 have gone, the latest being demolished in spring 2014. Here you will also find a National Trust tea rooms and shop, offering an extensive range of meals, snacks and drinks. This is the stop for Birling Gap. village green, you will find the village hall. Every Wednesday morning, there is a farmers' market started in 2003 by Lord of the Manor, Harry Duncan, selling fresh and local produce and arts and crafts. The village church is dedicated to St Simon and St Jude. It has a Saxon tower with an unusual gate to prevent cattle from entering the church. Just behind the village hall is the 15th century Tiger Inn and Hiker's Rest, a quaint old place to have a well-earned rest, meal and drinks. At the Tiger Inn, they offer local real ales. This is the stop for the Tiger Inn and Eastbourne Village. Arrive here for services 12, 12A and 12X towards Seven Sisters Country Park and Brighton. Because it was so close to the RAF listening stations. In the second half of 1942, fighter bomber raids inflicted heavy casualties and damage to Eastbourne and its population for almost a year, and December 1943 saw 32 people killed in one single day. In total, there were 112 bombing raids in Eastbourne, over 11,000 properties were damaged or destroyed, over 1,400 people were seriously injured, and 174 killed. In 1945, Eastbourne's evacuation graduated population of over 40,000 returned to their town to find many familiar places devastated in ruins and barely recognisable. As we carry on driving across the downs, you will notice lots of sheep. Lambing season starts in the early spring, when almost 50 UK ewes are preparing to give birth around the UK. The sheep hereabouts are known as mules by farmers and are crossbreeds using stock such as Suffolk, Romney Marsh and Welsh. Soon we will reach Warren Hill, offering a downland walk with panoramic views across Eastbourne and South Downs. Please ding the bell if you would like to stop at Warren Hill. You will now get to see the wonderful panoramas of Eastbourne on a clear day. In the distance beyond the promenades is an area known locally as the Crumbles. This vast area of shingle stretching from Eastbourne to Pevensey Bay. Part of this has in the last 30 years been developed into a magnificent waterfront marina. The complex is known as Sovereign Harbour and covers 365 acres with 2 locked harbours and opened in 1993. The harbour development provides almost 5,000 homes, along with waterside shops, restaurants and mooring facilities for hundreds of small craft. 2,000 years ago, the Crumbles Bay area was used by the Romans and William the Conqueror landed there in 1066 before the Battle of Hastings. Over the last 2 millennia, the area has silted up from pebbles. We descend into the town from the Downs by a different route, passing close to Meads village, still today the more exclusive address, where the grand property was built during the late Victorian era, and much of this survives intact today. In 2014, skeletal remains of a young woman who lived around 425 AD were discovered in the vicinity of the Downland estate. On our left, we pass the Chelsea College complex, which nowadays forms the Eastbourne campus of Brighton University. The 18th and 19th centuries would see Eastbourne change from a small village into a bustling town, everything changing after the Prince Regent made Brighton into a popular health resort and built the flamboyant Royal Pavilion there. 2 monarchs visited the quiet fishing community in the Middle Ages, Henry I and Edward II. Both stayed in the manor house near the centre of the town, off the area known as the Goffs. The population doubled every 10 years in the mid-19th century, with the arrival of the railways in 1849, adding tourism to the town's attributes. The population grew from a little over 3,000 in 1851 to 22,000 in 1881. And today it's over 100,000. Was the Floral Hall in 1881, and the first public lighting was seen in September 1882. In times past before, passing the world-famous Saffron Sports Club, where many, most famous cricketers in the world that plied their trade, and still today, Sussex CCC play some competitive cricket, while top-class bowls and squash facilities are available to members. And Eastbourne Town FC, Eastbourne Hockey Club and the Town's Cricket Club play their home fixtures. The grounds were once ringed by beautiful elm trees, but most of these perished during the notorious Dutch elm disease ravages of the late 20th century. Coming up to your left, Eastbourne Town. Eastbourne Town Hall was commissioned following a design competition, and the building was the work of Birmingham-based architect W. Tadman Fox, who was tasked in 1880 to provide a suitable grand edifice for the town's administrative functions. Of red brick construction with moulded brick decorations, Portland stone dressings, and grey Welsh slate roofing in the pre-Renaissance style. The foundation stone was laid on October the 9th, 1884, and the building opened on the 20th of October, 1886. The area of Grove Road and South Street is popularly known as Little Chelsea, where an alliance of small traders promote a shopping district of small shops where customers can buy from independent outlets, including galleries, antiques, books, cafes, boutiques, interiors including fabrics and art are all set in quaint Victorian shopping streets, where tall terraces tumble over the pavements. Having passed along South Street in Guildford Road, we now see Eastbourne's magnificent Grade 2 listed railway station. This was not the original terminus, which was a timber structure to the north of the current station, but was built in 1872 on the instruction of the chief mechanical engineer of the London, Brighton and South Coast Railway, Frederick Bannister, and designed by F.D. Brick. The station is of yellow brick and sandstone with a prominent clock tower on the street frontage and a beautiful vaulted canopy with lantern roof. There was originally a goods station on the northern side of the buildings, of which survives today, transformed into the Enterprise Shopping Centre by a group of small traders and market stalls. Eastbourne Station boasts a fine signal box, also Grade 2 listed, though it was decommissioned in 2015, replaced by the computerised signal system and 3 bridges, some 40 miles away. You can catch trains to Brighton, London, Hastings and Ashford. This is the stop for Eastbourne Railway Station. A light here for buses to Brighton, Hailsham, Uckfield and Lewis. the late 1980s. It has had an expensive development with an extension of the coloured shopping aisles and a multi-screen cinema complex complementing the traditional facilities historically offered in Thrash Road. This is the stop for Eastbourne Town Centre. Right here for buses to Hastings via Bexhill and Pevensey. You'll notice the elegant view. The town's war memorial. The statue by sculptor H.C. Pier is a bronze winged victory holding a laurel wreath and a inverted sword to resemble a cross. Eastbourne has some famous theatres, including Devonshire Park Theatre, a 19th century playhouse for dramas and touring repertory, the modern purpose-built Congress Theatre, and the Winter Gardens and Floral Hall. A Grade 2 listed building from 1875, form part of the same complex, as does the International Devonshire Park Lawn Tennis Centre, just along Fountain Street and near the Wish Tower. Near the Cavendish Hotel is the bronze statue of the separate Duke of Devonshire, who in the mid-1800s was instrumental in driving forward the development of Eastbourne. We're now coming to the end of our tour. We hope you have discovered enough from your trip to want to explore the town and surrounding area further. You might find out, for example, about the town's history of smuggling. The coastline around here is ideal for this most widespread occupations during the reign of King Edward I around 1300, when a customs duty was placed on the export of wool, which was in great demand throughout Europe. Initial dues were quite small, but as the 100 Years' War progressed, some taxes were raised to help pay for the troops who were engaged in fighting. Such was the loss of revenue to the government that smuggling became a more and more serious offence. In fact, it became a crime punishable by death in 1661, making the struggle increasingly risky and violent. To the east along the seafront is the Redgaunt Fortress, one of 3 surviving Napoleonic redgouts in the UK. It is over 200 years old and was used in both World Wars. The Royal Hippodrome Theatre in Seaside Road was opened in 1883 and was granted a royal patent by the Prince of Wales. As we arrive back at the pier, we are coming to the end of the tour. Remember that your ticket is valid for 24 hours, so you can return to the tour as often as you like. Please ensure that you take all of your belongings with you, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.